half the retirement videos in your feed start at $1 million. Meanwhile, the typical American household arrives at retirement with about $200,000 saved, and almost nobody shows them their own math. So today, the lab runs the median case. One real retiree, $200,000, a $2,000 Social Security check, and a paid-off house. We build his actual monthly budget line by line, find the gap, and close it with levers that already exist in ordinary lives. If your balance starts with a 1 or a 2, this episode is for you, and I think you will breathe easier by the end. Welcome to the Retirement Lab. I'm Susan Mitchell, and my usual reminder before we touch a single number, I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not personal advice. This is a lab. We run the numbers so you can see how the machine works, and then you check everything against your own life. Last episode, we ran a retiree through $1 million, $2 million, and $4 million. And in the comments, quietly, between the people comparing their 7 figures, there was a different kind of message. One of them has stayed with me. It said, "I'm 58 with $170,000 saved, and watching these videos, I feel like I've already failed. I want to talk to that person today." Because here is the number the retirement internet almost never says out loud. According to the Federal Reserve's Big Household Survey, the typical American household arriving at retirement age has roughly $200,000 in retirement savings. That's the median among households that have retirement accounts at all, and plenty of households have less. Not $1 million, not $500,000, $200,000. So when you feel behind, understand what you're actually behind. You're behind the people who make videos and the people banks put in commercials. You are not behind America. You are America. And America, it turns out, retires every single day on numbers like yours and lives. Not lavishly, but honestly and often happily, and I can prove it the way this lab proves everything. With a month. Our case is Frank. He's 68, and he retired 14 months ago after 44 years of work, the last 22 of them running the yard at a building supply warehouse, driving the forklift, teaching the new kids not to stack treated lumber on their lunch. He's been on his own for years, 2 grown kids, 3 grandkids across town. We ran the single specific math in episode 7, so today, singleness is just a fact about Frank, not the topic. If you're married, add the second check to everything I'm about to say. Hold that thought actually, because the second check is going to explain a headline later. Here is Frank's entire financial life on one page. $200,000, almost all of it in an IRA rolled over from the warehouse 401 core amenity. A Social Security check of $2,000 a month, which is right around the average retired worker's benefit as of 2026. Yours will be different, and you can see the real figure anytime at ssa.gov. A paid-off house, a small brick ranch he and his late wife bought in 1989, worth maybe $220,000 today, and an 11-year-old pickup he washes more often than it needs. That's it, no pension, no inheritance coming. Frank is the median, standing in a driveway. Now, income. This is where the $1 million videos train you to look at exactly one place, the portfolio. And that habit is why $200,000 feels like failure. Watch what happens when we count everything. Stream 1, Social Security. $2,000 every month, inflation adjusted, for life. Notice something before we go on. If you tried to buy that same guaranteed lifetime paycheck from an insurance company, it would cost several $100,000. Frank already owns it. He bought it one payroll deduction at a time over 44 years. Nobody sends him a statement for it, so nobody counts it. Stream 2, the savings. We need a ruler to turn a balance into income, and we'll use the one we tested back in episode 1, the 4% guideline. One line, no reteaching. 4% of $200,000 is $8,000 a year. Call it $667 a month. And if you're wondering how he actually gets paid each month, the paycheck machine we built in episode 6 runs exactly the same on 200,000 as it does on 2 million. Smaller pipes, same plumbing. Add the streams. 2,000 plus 6,067 is $2,067 a month, about $32,000 a year. There is a third stream in Frank's life, and I'm deliberately leaving it off stage for now. First, I want you to see the month that $32,000 has to carry. Frank did the thing I beg everyone to do. Before he retired, he sat at the kitchen table with 6 months of bank statements and a highlighter. Here's what his life actually costs. The house. Property tax runs $205 a month in his county. Homeowner's insurance, $125. Utilities, electric and gas and water and trash, about $280 averaged across the year. And $180 a month goes into a repair fund because the water heater doesn't care that he's retired. All in, the paid-off house costs $790 a month. Remember that number. It's about to matter twice. Groceries, $430. He cooks. Sunday sauce, chili in the winter, and he's learned the strange math of shopping for one that we walked through in episode 7. The truck, $470 all in. Insurance, gas, maintenance, and a slice set aside every month toward the next truck years from now. Healthcare, right about $400 a month as of 2026. Medicare Part B, a supplement, a drug plan, price per person, same as everyone's, phone and internet, $115, and then his life, dinner out on Fridays with his brother, fishing tackle. Birthday money for 3 grandkids who are getting expensive. Clothes, haircuts, the church envelope, a little cushion for the stuff no budget ever sees coming. $995 a month, added up. $3,200 a month. $38,400 a year. That's a real number from a real kind of life, and if you've been tracking your own spending, you know it's not padded and it's not fantasy thin either. So there it is, on one screen. Income, $2,067. Life, $3,200. The gap is $533 a month, about $6,400 a year. I want to sit here for a second, because this moment is the whole reason I made this episode. The retirement internet looks at Frank and says 200,000 isn't enough, and technically, on this screen, they're right. But look at the actual size of the problem. The median retirement, honestly accounted, comes down to about $500 a month. That is the real shape of the thing everyone is losing sleep over. And $500 problems have $500 solutions. Frank has 4 of them, and most of them were sitting in his life already. Lever 1 is one he didn't have to pull because it pulled itself. Taxes. When Frank earned a salary, every dollar arrived pre-shrunk. Payroll tax came off the top. Federal income tax took its slice, and the state took a nibble. Now look at his retirement income. His $8,000 of IRA withdrawals is his only income. The IRS really looks at here, and a single filer over 65 gets a standard deduction north of $17,000 as of 2026. The withdrawal disappears under it entirely. And at his income level, little to none of his Social Security is taxable. We did the deep dive on retirement taxes in episode 3, so here it's one sentence. Frank's federal income tax bill is at or near zero, and there's no payroll tax on any of it. Which means his $32,000 spends the way a $38,000 or $40,000 salary used to. He also isn't saving for retirement anymore, and he isn't paying a mortgage. Check the current figures at irs.gov, they move a little every year. But the shape holds. At the median, the tax system quietly hands you a raise on your way out the door. Lever 2 is the brick ranch, and this one deserves more respect than it ever gets. A 2-bedroom rental in Franks County runs about $1,300 a month. Frank's housing, all in, costs $790, and remember, 5 of those hundreds are taxes, insurance, utilities, and a repair fund he'd be paying some version of anywhere. The paid-off house is quietly paying him the difference between owning and renting, month after month. Call it something like $15,000 a year of income that never shows up on any statement. This is the great hidden asset of the median retirement, a house, mostly or fully paid, that converts a $32,000 income into a life a renter would need well over 40 to match. Two neighbors can have identical bank balances and be living in different economies. If you own your place, even mostly, you're wealthier than your account balance says. And if you don't, stay with me, because I'm not going to pretend you're not here. There's a section coming for you. Lever 3 is the one Frank actually pulled, and here's where the third stream walks on stage. Tuesday and Thursday mornings, plus most Saturdays, Frank works the contractor counter at the hardware store in town. 10 hours a week, a little over $15 an hour, about $650 a month. The manager would take him full-time tomorrow. Frank has declined twice. Do the math on what that little job does. The gap was $533. The job is $650. Gap closed, with change left over. In a good month, he doesn't touch the portfolio draw at all, so the $200,000 sits and grows instead of shrinking, which quietly makes every future year safer. Past full retirement age, there's no earnings test to worry about, and at his income, the extra barely moves his tax picture. But listen to how Frank talks about it, because this matters more than the arithmetic. He knows every contractor in town by their first name and their truck. He gets the story of every kitchen remodel in the county. He told me once that counter is the best part of my week, and the money's almost embarrassing, like getting paid to go to the barbershop. I want to be careful here. This lever works if your health allows it, and only if you hold the leash. By choice, at your hours, quit whenever you want. That is a completely different animal from just work forever, and I will never sell you that one. But 10 chosen hours a week, turning the median retirement from tight to comfortable? That's not a defeat. Half the retired people I know with a little job like this would keep it if you paid them not to. Lever 4 is a handful of small ones, and at Frank's income, they're actually worth bending over to pick up. His county, like a lot of places, has a homestead program that trims property tax for seniors under an income limit. For Frank, it's worth a few $100s a year, and he almost didn't apply because he'd never heard of it. Most states have a version under some name, and the income limits often sit right around median retiree territory, which is exactly the point. 5 minutes at the county auditor's website. The tax code's extra standard deduction for people over 65, that's already baked into his zero. For incomes a notch below Frank's, Medicare has savings programs and drug cost help that can be worth real money, over $1,000 a year for some people, and enrollment is famously low because, again, nobody's heard of them. Check SA.gov and Medicare.gov, and check every single year because the limits move. And yes, the senior coffee and the discount matinee, small, pleasant, not a retirement plan. But notice the pattern here. At the median income, the system has more give in it than at any other level. The discounts the internet jokes about are sized for exactly the budget we just built. Now let me pay off something from earlier, because there's a statistic making the rounds that confuses everyone. The median retiree household has about $200,000 saved, and yet the income surveys keep finding retiree households living on $60,000 a year or more. People look at those two facts and decide somebody's lying. Nobody's lying. You just watch the answer get built. Take Frank's month and add a spouse. 2 average Social Security checks might be $2,000 and $1,600. That's $3,600 a month, over $43,000 a year, before anyone touches a dime of savings. Add the $8,000 draw. Add one small pension from one union job in the 70s, $500 a month. They still exist in the wild. Add a little chosen part-time, like Frank's counter shifts. You're past $60,000, and the $200,000 in savings barely broke a sweat. Here's the sentence I want you to keep. In the median retirement, savings are the smallest income stream, and everyone measures themselves by the smallest stream. The check is the engine. The house is the discount. The savings are the shock absorber, the fund for roofs and cars, and the year everything goes wrong at once. 200,000 is a very good shock absorber. It was just never supposed to be the engine, and grading it like an engine is why the median household walks around feeling like a failure. One more piece of honest good news, and then a story. When researchers follow real retirees over time, spending falls as they age. Not because life gets grim, but because it gets quieter. The government's own spending surveys show households 75 and up spending roughly a fifth less than households 65 to 74 in real terms. The truck gets driven less. The trips get shorter and closer. The Fridays with his brother stay, because those are nearly free. So Frank's $38,000 year is close to his most expensive ordinary year, not his cheapest. Health costs can rise late, and that is genuinely what the shock absorber and the house are standing by for. But the everyday line drifts down. Almost nobody anxious about retirement knows that, because fear sells calculators, and calculators assume you'll spend like a 68-year-old forever. Now the story, because I promised the person from the comments, the one who feels like they've already failed, that I'd talk to them. My friend Dorothy retired 4 years ago, at 70, from 31 years in housekeeping at the hospital. She had $130,000 saved. Less than Frank. Less than the median. The month before her last shift, she called me at 9 at night, and I could hear the kitchen chair creak, and she said, "Susan, tell me the truth. Am I going to be all right? Because everything I read says I need $1 million. We did exactly what you watched today." One sheet of paper. Her check, her draw, her little house with the crabapple tree, her real spending, which was smaller than Frank's. The gap was about $300. She covers it with 2 morning shifts a week at the library, which she'd have done for free, and she says so to anyone who asks. Dorothy is 74 now. Her garden is ridiculous. Her grandkids come on Sundays, and here's the number that should be on a billboard somewhere. Her balance today is higher than the day she retired. 4 years of retirement on $130,000, and the pile grew. The night she called me, she was scared of the wrong thing. Nobody had ever shown her the difference between her feed and her math. Now the honest section, because some of you have been waiting with your arms crossed and you've earned the plain version. Everything today leaned on that brick ranch. If you're renting at $1,300 a month, Frank's budget doesn't work, and I'm not going to pretend it does. Rent, not the savings balance, is the real pinch of the median retirement. Which tells you where your levers are. They're housing levers. Senior and income-based apartment communities, decent and real in most towns, get on the waiting lists early. Sharing a place, which more retirees do every year, and which cuts the biggest bill nearly in half. Moving somewhere genuinely cheaper, county by county, not fantasy by fantasy. And if you own but the number still doesn't close, the house itself is a lever with a handle on it. Frank's $220,000 ranch, traded for a $150,000 condo, frees up something like $60,000 after the costs of moving. His nest egg jumps to $260, his draw goes from $667 to about $870, and the repair fund shrinks too. He hasn't done it. He likes his workshop. But he knows the math is sitting in the garage if he ever needs it, and just knowing that is worth sleep. None of these are fun to say. All of them are ordinary, done every day, and survivable. The median retirement has always solved housing first. That's not doom. That's just the order of operations. Let me tell you what I think is actually going on, after weeks inside these numbers. The median retirement in America has never been a portfolio. It is a paid-off house, a social security check, and a life size to fit, with some savings standing guard. That was your grandparents' retirement. For half the country, it is still the retirement, right now, on quiet streets everywhere, working fine. Nobody put it in your feed because nobody makes money filming a man washing a truck he owns outright. What changed isn't that the median retirement stopped working. What changed is that you started seeing the 95th percentile every day, at breakfast, on a screen, presented as the starting line. Frank isn't behind. Dorothy isn't behind. The goalposts moved, and nobody told the people standing calmly in the end zone. If your balance starts with a 1 or a 2, you have not failed. You have the same 3 streams and the same levers you just watched, and the gap at the bottom of your page is far more likely to be $500 than $500,000. So, your homework, 1 sheet of paper, same as always. Your check from ssa.gov, the real one. Your balance times 4% divided by 12. Your honest month from real statements, highlighter and all. Subtract and look at the actual size of your gap. Then pick your lever, the tax raise you already got, the house, a few chosen hours, the quiet programs, or, if housing is the pinch, the housing levers, named without flinching. And tell me in the comments, no balance is required, which lever is yours? The counter shifts, the downsize, the homestead form you just found out existed? Those answers genuinely shape what we run next in this lab. If this one helped, subscribing helps us make the next one, and if someone you love is carrying that quiet, "I've already failed" feeling, this might be the episode to send them. All figures today are as of 2026, they move every year, so verify the current ones at ssa.gov and irs.gov, and this is education, not advice. Run your own numbers with your own professional before you move real money. I'm Susan Mitchell. Run your numbers. Know you're on track. I'll see you in the next one.